Welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, I have my Fortune Lady deck profile for you all. I figured that it'd be a good idea to actually go over all of these cards for you because this is an unorthodox deck that I think runs very well actually. This is for Master Duel. This deck won't work in the TCG. I don't know if it works in the OCG. I don't know the OCG ban list. But it's a deck that I really enjoy actually, and it is... I feel like I'm at a spot where it's just really good actually. So let's just go into it. Fortune Ladies are a spellcaster archetype. During each of your standby phases, the level of every Fortune Lady monster you control will increase. This will always increase the attack of that monster, as a Fortune Lady's monster's attack will always be a question mark or 0, but its attack is its level times a different number based on each monster. The Fortune Ladies have the ability to manipulate their levels to go into different Synchro monsters, or even Xyzs and Links of course, but the main play is to go into Synchro monsters using the monster card Fortune Lady Past. There are a ton of different spells that allow you to bring out more Fortune Ladies or work with their effects of them, but the Fortune Lady effect monsters themselves have the ability to destroy monsters your opponent controls and do damage to them, to draw a crap ton of cards, to special summon some from deck, level manipulate other Fortune Lady monsters you control, including itself, and then also destroy spells and traps your opponent controls, as well as just some of them are just massive beat sticks. So let's go into the actual deck profile now. I like to run 3 Fortune Lady Light. This is one of the main combo cards. I think there's 3 combo monsters realistically, but Fortune Lady Light is one of, if not the single most important card in the entire deck. This card's attack is its level times 200, and then during your standby phase, increases level by 1. That is the effect of every Fortune Lady monster, so I won't go over that aside from the attack part of it. When this face-up card leaves the field by a card effect, that does not include tributing it with Link Karibo for some reason, you can special summon a Fortune Lady monster from your deck. This is a great way to bring out other Fortune Lady monsters, allowing you to special summon different monsters. You get this card out using other Fortune Lady monsters, as well as different spells such as Future Visions or Spellbook of Knowledge. I like to run 2 Fortune Lady Past. This is the main tuner and the only tuner of the Fortune Lady archetype. This card, its attack and defense become its level times 200. During your standby phase, increases level by 1. Once per turn, you can target 1 Fortune Lady monster you control, including this card, banish any number of other spellcasters from your hand, field, or graveyard, and if you do, you can increase or reduce that monster's level by the number of monsters banished until the end of the turn. This is your main manipulation. You can use this card to send Fortune Lady Light to bring out other things, but it's a really good card. I don't run this at 2 because I often have 2 in hand for whatever reason, and it's usually sent off my deck almost immediately. It's just weirdly bad luck, so I like having 2 of them instead. That's my own personal taste. Figure out what you want. If you want to remove 2, or if you want to run 2, you could run 1 less Ecclesia. I'll talk about Ecclesia later on. Then we have 1 Fortune Lady Fire. This card's attack is also its level times 200. When this card is special summoned in attack position by the effect of a Fortune Lady card, that can be Fortune Lady Light, Fortune Lady Calling, Fortune Lady Rewind, practically any Fortune Lady card, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy that target. And then if you do, your opponent will take damage equal to the destroyed monster's attack on the field. I then run 3 Fortune Lady Water. This card's attack and defense become its level times 300. If this card is special summoned while you control a Fortune Lady monster except for Fortune Lady Water, which means you can have other Fortune Lady monsters and Fortune Lady Water will still work. Some people are weird about that. You can draw 2 cards. This isn't a once per turn, which means with these Synchro and a level 5 Synchro monster, you can use Fortune Lady Water and then Fortune Lady Past and just keep going into stuff. And it's absolutely crazy because you can just draw half of your deck. It's ridiculous. Desynchro's a really good card for the Fortune Ladies, though I don't play it myself. Then I run 1 Fortune Lady Tark. This card's attack and defense become its level times 400. This is a 2000 attack when summoned, and during your standby phase increases level by 1. When your Fortune Lady monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can target a Fortune Lady monster in your graveyard and special summon it. This is a great way to use Fortune Lady Fire's effect or Fortune Lady Water's effect as well. It includes its own self, so if you get this card out and then destroy a monster, it's only 2000 attack, so it is a little bit rough in that aspect. 2000 attack isn't what it used to be. This card can bring anything out, and that can give you the next turn, or even your main phase 2, just an absolutely insane play. I then run 1 Fortune Lady Earth. This card's attack and defense become its level times 400, so on summon, it should be around 2400 attack. If the level of this card increases, you inflict 400 damage to your opponent. That is not a once per turn, but it isn't for each level that it goes up by, unfortunately. So if it goes from level 6 and you banish a bunch to make it level 9 or something with Fortune Lady Past, it'll still only do 1 instance of 400 damage. So it's a really unfortunate effect that it works like that. I run 3 Magician Souls. Magician Souls is actually insane. It's a level 1 spellcaster, so it works with the deck. It is a target for Fortune Lady Past to banish. You can send up to 2 spells and traps from your hand and or field to the graveyard and draw that many cards. But the main effect that I use it for is if this card is in your hand, you can send 1 level 6 or higher spellcaster. That would be your Fortune Lady Earth or your Dimension Shifter to the graveyard, and then you can activate one of the effects, which is to special summon Magician Souls, because you won't have a Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in your graveyard. So it's basically a free way to special summon this, as well as thin your deck of a monster you're not going to use. I run 3 of that. It's a really important card to run. After you finish doing your main play for the turn, before you end your turn, you can always use Magician Soul's effect to send any spells you don't need to your graveyard, such as the Floodgate of Future Visions if you know what your opponent's playing. That would allow you to just then draw 2 more cards, 1 or 2 more cards, which means you can have more stuff in hand for hand traps or whatever. You could play more hand traps in this. I'm not a big fan of hand traps, but Max C, which I run at 3, is the most important card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and if you disagree, you're not playing Master Duel right. Max C, obviously, draw every time your opponent special summons a monster. This card's insane. It's absolutely worth just running at 3. If you don't agree, you could trade it for any other hand trap, I suppose. I guess you could play Droll. I like Max C because just getting any other card, even trading a Max C for just a Fortune Lady Past or a Fortune Lady Light or a Spellbook of Knowledge, that's a lot. That's a massive win right there. I think it's always worth running. You could run 3 Ash Blossom if you wanted to. You could run 3 Effect Failure because that's also a target for Fortune Lady Past, but I don't think Effect Negation is that important in this deck because your goal isn't to negate your opponent's effect and stop them from playing, it's to play around what your opponent has, or to go first and get your Synchro Monster onto the field, if you know what your opponent's playing. Then I run 3 Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. This card is capable of special summoning herself from your hand. It's a Spellcaster Tuner, and it's level 4. This is a very good card. This plus Fortune Lady Water goes into any 8 Synchro. If you wanted to play a Fortune Lady Wind, you could get rid of 1 Ecclesia or 1 Magician Souls. I really like running 3 Ecclesia. Ecclesia is one of my favorite cards. I love the art of this card, so I like running it at 3 in any deck that I can put it in. It just works really well with this deck, so I always recommend having at least 2 of her. Ecclesia is also a way to special summon out Fallen of Albaz, which I run 2 of. Albaz is ridiculous. It's literally an amazing card. This card is not only just going to be a free special summon, so without normal summoning you can get out Mirror Jade the Iceblade Dragon or any of your other fusions depending on what your opponent's playing, but you can remove a target from your opponent's field very, very simply just by having 1 Ecclesia in your hand because that'll go into Albaz. Albaz can then discard a spell card you don't want, such as Dimension Shifter or Harpies, whatever card you don't need in your hand at that moment, and it's absolutely gorgeous of a card to have. Then I run 1 Dimension Shifter. Dimension Shifter is a level 6 spellcaster. It allows you to banish cards until the end of the next turn, which actually works pretty well with Fortune Ladies because that means that you can use the effect of Fortune's Future to return banished Fortune Lady monsters and then draw cards. So it's a really, really good card. Even if you play this, it's also searchable off of Magician Souls, so you can send it to the graveyard and not have to worry about it next turn. So if you don't start with it and you start with Magician Souls and Fortune Lady Earth, send the other. Pretty easy combo there. I run 2 Fortune's Future. You can target one of your banished Fortune Lady monsters, return it to the graveyard, and then draw 2 cards. This is not a once per turn. If you had a way to recycle it, great, that's super cool. Fortune Ladies are crazy with the draw power that the deck can have. I then run 3 Fortune Lady Calling. If you control a Fortune Lady monster, special summon 1 Fortune Lady monster from your deck with a different name than the cards you control. After this effect resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except for Synchro monsters, and you can only activate 1 Fortune Lady Calling per turn. I then run 2 Future Visions. Every time a monster is normal summoned, you target that monster and banish it. During the next standby phase of the player who controlled that monster, return it to the field in face-up attack position. This is an excellent floodgate. If you're playing against Fluanderese, if they don't have a way to out this, they lose. They can't play their deck. They legitimately just lose. I've played against Flu before and just had this on my field and nothing else playable in hand, and they had to surrender because they can't play anything. It's great. However, Flu's not really an issue right now in Master Duel. I then run 3 Fortune Vision. When this card is activated, you can add 1 Fortune Lady card, be it monster, spell, or trap, from your deck to your hand. And then once per turn, if a card you control is banished by card effect, except during the damage step, you can activate this effect. This turn, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects, even if Fortune Vision leaves the field. And then once per turn, if a card your opponent controls is banished, you can make the next battle damage you take this turn become 0. And you can only activate 1 Fortune Vision per turn. However, the effects of Fortune Vision, although they are technically under the quote-unquote once per turn, it's a soft once per turn. So if you have Fortune Vision, if you have 2 Fortune Visions on your field and 2 monsters your opponent controls on their field are banished, the next 2 instances of damage you would take, you won't take. It's a stacking effect like that, and it's really, really cool. I've seen it happen a few times. I then run 2 Spellbook of Secrets. I used to run 3 of this. I constantly would use Spellbook of Knowledge to draw into Spellbook of Secrets, so it's really unfortunate. I like running 2 because this can get Knowledge, which Knowledge can then send Light away, and that allows me to special summon as well as draw cards, so it's a very nice engine for that. And then I run 3 Spellbook of Knowledge. I think it's practically a necessary card because it sends away Fortune Lady Light, and that gives you your main combo right there. I also then run 1 Heartbeast Feather Duster and 1 1-for-1. 1-for-1's pretty good because it allows you to go into your Fortune Lady Light. The main targets to send would be Dimension Shifter, Fortune Lady Earth, or Fortune Lady Dark. But it is always going to be to special summon out Fortune Lady Light or Past, depending on what you have in your hand. As for traps, I run 2 traps, which are both Fortune Lady Rewind. I think this card it's up for debate whether you want to run it at 1 or 2. I drastically prefer to run it at 2, but this card allows you to target any number of your banished Fortune Lady monsters with different names. So if your whole deck just gets banished for whatever reason, you basically can special summon every single one of those monsters and then shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. So it's great recycle power. If you have Fortune Lady Water in there, special summon it, and if you have a different Fortune Lady on field, draw 2 cards. You have Fortune Lady Fire in there, target an opponent's monster, destroy it, do damage. It's a great card effect right there. If you were to replace anything in this deck, I think the best option would probably be the Harpies and the D-Shifter. D-Shifter you should probably trade for another Fortune Lady Earth, or you could even get rid of Fortune Lady Dark for another Fortune Lady Earth, just to have a second target for her. But I really like running Fortune Lady Dark. If you want to run Fortune Lady Wind as well, like I said earlier, you could take away a Magician's Souls or an Ecclesia. And then Maxi is my hand trap of choice. You can put in a different one if you want to. I do just think Maxi is too broken to not use in Master Duel right now. In the extra deck, we'll start with our Synchro monsters. We have my level 5 Dark Dimension Soldier. It's a level 5 Warrior Synchro monster, and I can banish 1 card from my hand and target one of my banished Dark monsters. So I can special summon out D-Shifter, or Fortune Lady Dark, or Fortune Lady Past, or Magician's Souls. I believe Albaz is a Dark monster as well. Pretty decent stuff to go into, or even any of my Albaz fusion monsters, and then I can special summon that monster in face up or face down in defense position. During the end phase, I then inflict 100 damage to my opponent for each set card on the field. So, actually a pretty nice effect. Its main use is just to go as a level 5 into whatever, and then have the ability to bring out a different banished monster that I control. I run 2 Fortune Lady Everys. This is the main boss monster of the deck. This card's attack and defense become its level times 400, and then once per turn during your standby phase, you can increase this card's level by 1. Then you can banish 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. During your opponent's end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, I can banish a different spellcaster monster from your graveyard and special summon this card. However, that special summon is a once per turn. I then run 1 Zoroark, the Magistus Conflagrant Calamity. If this card is synchro summon, you can equip 1 Magistus monster from your extra deck to this card. Your opponent can activate the effects of monsters with the same card type, Fusion, Synchro, Xyz, or Link, as Magistus this card in your spell and trap zone. If this card is in your graveyard, I can target a Magistus card I control, destroy it, and if I do, special summon this card. You can only use this effect of Zoroark the Magistus Conflagrant Calamity once per turn. That will then allow you to use one of your different monsters here, such as Varam the Magistus Divinity Dragon. While this card is an equipped card, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by your opponent's spell and trap effects, and you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this synchro summon card is destroyed, destroy all face-up cards your opponent controls. At the start of the damage step, if the monster this card is equipped to battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster. It's a level 8 Dragon Synchro with 2500 attack. Pretty dang good card, but it's a Magistus card that stops them from being able to activate synchro effects. So if you're playing against Sword Soul, it's pretty good. Iwas, the Magistus Spell Spirit. 1 Magistus monster plus 1 Spellcaster monster. You're never going to fusion summon this card out. This card, Iwas, the Magistus Spell Spirit, is just the rare version. There's an ultra rare Magistus fusion, but it's just a target for Zoroark, so it's not really a problem. We then have Ninaruru as another target for Zoroark. Zoroark is actually a card we can, or Ninaruru is actually a card we can summon out, but it's not really useful. It is 1800 attack, 2400 defense. The main thing we want to use this for is that while this card is equipped to a monster, we can destroy Ninaruru and then 1 spell and trap my opponent controls by targeting it and then destroying it, including Ninaruru. So it's pretty nice in that aspect. And then Artemis, the Magistus Moon Maiden, pretty easy link summon to go into. This is also the main way of getting Zoroark back out, although his effect won't reactivate. If you actually wanted to, you could run a second Artemis in place of literally any other monster in the deck, or in the extra deck here, but I think I'm enjoying running 1 Artemis for the time. We also run 1 Link Revo and 1 Nightmare Cerberus. This is just for extra safety. If my opponent's playing Baguska, I'm pretty much fucked, to be honest. I can't really do much about that. So the best thing that I can do is just get Nightmare Cerberus out, get rid of Baguska, and then hopefully be able to go into stuff from there. If not, it is what it is. I'm content with that. I'm just gonna lose. As for our fusion monsters, we have the standard Albaz package, which is 1 Albion, 1 Lubellion, 2 Mirror Jades, and then 1 Alba Lenitus the Abyss Dragon. I think Albulenitis is the most important of the Albaz extra deck monsters. This card doesn't need to be summoned using Albaz's effect. If you just get Albaz in your field or set it, with Bystials in the game as prominent as they are, you can just set Albaz or summon Albaz without actually activating his effect, and then just be able to use the monsters on both fields to tribute into Albulenitis. So if your opponent has a Serenir, a Magnemite, and a Druid Thrower in their field, you can normal summon or set Albaz, or use Ecclesia to bring out Albaz, and then just tribute them all off, and your opponent can't respond to it because you don't have to use an effect for it. So in most situations, even against Dragon Synchros, if you can just set Albaz, you're just fine. There's nothing to worry about there because you're not activating anything. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you've all had a wonderful day, and if you haven't, there's always the rest of your day, tomorrow, the day after that, and so on and so forth. Things don't get better unless you let them, so give yourself time and things will improve. I promise. It was fun to make a deck profile. I know it was a bit jank, but hopefully editing me will have made it pretty concise and nice. If you enjoyed, let me know. I look forward to making more Master Duel content. I don't really want to play the game that much right now because Bystials. But with that being said, I will see you all next time. Until then, take care of yourselves, everybody. Bye-bye.